What's up, everybody?
All right.
Good evening, everyone.
Happy Tuesday.
Yo.
Happy KOTG Tuesday.
KOTG Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
Tacos and turf. Let's go.
Can we start? Oh wait.
No, not yet.
I'm thirsty.
What up?
It's already ready.
We have full house today. Who do we got?
Yeah.
Who do we got?
We're missing Cody.
Mark, yeah.
It's either in the chat. Who do we got? We got Sugarland Bermuda in the house. We got Lazy Lawns.
I see,
my dearie lawn.
I see. It's more time.
There you go.
Let me just slide past you here. Sorry.
We have the KOTG Lawn of the Week winner from last week, Mr. Golf Course Lawn, in the house.
Turf Tamer, Harry Lawn,
there you go.
Chris X Outdoors. Lots of people in tonight.
Yeah. And as always, a big shout out to the podcast listeners listening later. We're continue to be blown away by the number of streams and downloads that we're seeing. Thank you to everybody for your support and for subscribing in your favorite podcast application. So thank you to everybody for doing that and supporting us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, first things first.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I'm thirsty. Yes.
All right, Nate. Now you can go.
So in great fashion, throw in the chat tonight what you guys are drinking. I'm curious to see what you guys got on tap. So you know what I'm drinking. Nice cold Busch Light.
Yeah. Coke Zero changed their cans. I don't know if you guys have seen these new red Coke Zero cans.
What were they before? Black?
Not a sponsor.
I think they're black. Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
I tried separating from Pepsi because their Pepsi Zero is black too. So
yeah,
trying to do their own thing.
It must be.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Yep. So Ryan, you're drinking a Shiner. Where in Texas are you? Houston. Right?
Houston,
yep.
Texas.
Good old Houston. I lived there for a while. Good
We're
old
going to Houston. And I said, giddy up, U-turn.
A bit north of David and a little far south of Cody. So,
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I lived in Houston for quite some time. Like it there. My sister's still there. And my folks live in Corpus Christi. And I am stuck in New Jersey.
In the monsoons of the East Coast.
Monsoons of New Jersey.
Yeah, I see the East Coast just getting dumped on right now. Just like was it Tennessee that got like serious floods?
Like 15 or 17 inches of rain, something like that.
Yeah, Nashville. So I know we got some people that follow us that are in that area. So, if you are, hope everyone's safe and, hopefully it's not affecting you guys, but if it is, our thoughts are with you guys and
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully you're doing okay. But if you're not and you're able to join us, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't bad here. I got like 4.5 inches of rain.
Of rain.
So I thought I was good with that. It totally screwed up all the chemicals in my pool and, I have like no chlorine in there. And then I started getting algae and stuff. I was like, all right, well, there's that extra 4.5 inches of water in the pool. But you know what? Small price to pay. It's not, at least we didn't have the problems that a lot of other places had, like Tennessee. So,
yeah, but it's crazy how, a little bit of change can lead to getting all your microbial activity and microbiome sort of out of whack and lead to stuff like that, isn't it?
It really does. It really does. Small changes can have big impacts on the chemical and with your microbes. So with that, Ryan, welcome, sir.
thank you.
So, Ryan, you're with MicroLife. Can you tell us, and that's what we're here to talk to you about tonight, is talk about soil health, organic growing, organic products, and MicroLife that you represent. So can you tell us a little bit? So I'm not going to introduce you and get something wrong. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about you and what you guys are all about at MicroLife.
Sure. So I'm Ryan. I'm the sales manager at MicroLife. I've worked there for about 4.5 years now. I think the biggest thing that we promote at MicroLife is healthy soils, healthy plants, and healthy people. That kind of comes with the quality of the ingredients that we put in our materials, as well as the care that we take into organic approaches and or lawn care approaches, or any approach that you could think of in horticulture or agriculture. I think that what we focus on not only is the nutrient density of plants, but the soil biology and the microbiology in the soil. We were talking before we got the show started, how the piece that I think that makes MicroLife what it is our inoculant packages. We've got 76 different beneficial strains of bacteria and fungi that help create little caveats in the soil where water and nutrients can get around the root zones versus sit on top of your soil and kind of run off and go elsewhere and get leached off and not be utilized. Soil health is vital in that, and you need nutrients as well as soil biology in there to do that. So
yeah, definitely got to treat that soil biology and take care of the work, what's everything that's down there. So what makes you different from other organic fertilizers out there, Ryan, with MicroLife?
So a lot of fertilizers, I'll just use the word filler, they've got to have something in there that is the bulk of their product, whether it be limestone and a lot of traditional fertilizers. Some people are using polymer coated fertilizers. We don't do anything like that. And I think aside from that, we don't use any poultry manure in our products. A lot of people use poultry as an organic product.
Biosolids as well.
Right. That's what the USDA has deemed it is. I have other qualms about that. You don't really know what's fed to those chickens and things like that. Unless you're quality sourcing your manure, if you will. But the unknown of things that are inside of products can hurt the quality of those products. And so that's one thing we don't use. But humates is that filler that we use in our products. Humates in the granular form, humic fulvic acid in the liquid form. That stuff is the bomb. You really can't go wrong with it in granular form or in liquid form.
I've actually heard from a lot of licensed applicators that jumped into the MicroLife fertilization program, and they're pretty stoked with what you guys are providing, especially with that 004 that you guys have. Can you speak a little bit more on that one?
Yeah. So that's our Humates Plus. It is a 004, so a 0% nitrogen, 0% phosphorus, and 4% potassium. We call that our concentrated compost in a bag. It's a 40-pound bag that can cover 4,000 square feet. The biggest thing that makes that what it is that it does the equivalent of 6 cubic yards of compost without the wheelbarrow, without the shovel, without all the stuff.
Ibuprofen for your back. Yeah.
Right, saving your back, exactly. With a 40-pound bag and a spreader, you can do what you're looking to do. The main thing that's in there that does that is the Yucca wetting agent. I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, somebody in the chat, people were talking about Yucca and, what's a wetting agent and things like that. So we use Yucca, and what that wetting agent does is open your clay soils and allow the nutrients, the fertilizer that you're putting into your soil, get around where it needs to do its job, around the root zones and into the soil, rather than kind of like what we were talking about on top, running off, going elsewhere. But that Humates Plus is full of seaweed, molasses, that inoculant package that we were talking about that contains those 76 different beneficial strains of bacteria. So you put that all together in this nice Humates Plus package, you've got a fantastic soil amendment to do a lot of things in your soil.
Yeah, I've heard about Yucca. It's very underrated. I actually heard it from my father years ago. And he did tell me that, especially for down here, for clayey soils, they use it as a wetting agent. And when MicroLife brought it over, I was like, oh, that's pretty awesome that, that it's been going on for some time, and you guys ended up adding it to your program, into your soil amendments ingredients. But yeah, man, definitely.
So as far as your NPK, where's your NPK sources come from in your fertilizer, other than the soil amendments and stuff? What's like your NPK sources?
So, I mean, you've got alfalfa, you've got fish meal, you've got kelp meal, bone meal. Fish meal alone could be a 10-1-1. Alfalfa, you've got wheat middlings in there, a lot of your grainy type products, cottonseed meal, things like that. But a lot of those individually have their own NPKs. You chop them up and put them in a nice recipe. You can get a desired combined NPK that you're looking for. And the main thing of it is it's 100% readily available nutrients. If you take a traditional 15-5-10, a high salt synthetic fertilizer, you're losing 80% of that fertilizer immediately due to leaching and gassing off.
So it doesn't get broken down by microbes or anything. It's water soluble.
Correct. So I mean, but the microbes help in that regard. They also break it down, which again, being familiar to the plant, familiar to those microbes, they can break it down and do what more needs to be done to it to put it in that plant ready form.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to my question too, Ryan. Organic lawn care, a lot of people talk about it, but I don't think a lot of people sort of understand, what it means. A lot of people think, it means like carbon-based products because of like things like, organic chemistry class means carbon-based chemistry, right? Natural products, non-GMO products, like, when people think of like organic food, no pesticides. So what does organic mean kind of to you and your company's approach to lawn care?
So that's actually really good. I mean, I think a lot of people are talking about organics and sustainability, I won't use the last word because that's going to be my last word, but a lot of these things that people are using, organics to me means regenerative. If you aren't regenerating the soil, sustainability, it's great to be sustainable, but I think in the state of a lot of soils that are what's currently going on with them, they're not sustainable. We need a little more. There's a customer of mine, Hippie Fertilizing. He talks a lot about things, and his main thing, and it's my main thing, is supporting soil biology. So if the materials don't support soil biology, if they don't benefit the plant and what the life that's down in the soil, what are you really putting into the soil? So I mean, I think that's really, as long as it's regenerative, you're regenerating the soil and your system. You really are headed more towards an organic lawn care program.
I've actually heard about your customer. I don't know his name, but I know they call him the hippie. And I know he's very well known in South Texas. Actually, one of my buddies like, hey, man, this guy's, he's bringing in MicroLife to his program. What do you think? This was about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. And that's when I started learning about MicroLife. And I have never used MicroLife until just recently. But I've actually recommended MicroLife products to some other people because MicroLife has some good stuff in the products. Okay, so here, this is another question for a lot of people out there. That people were asking on organics. What are your thoughts on a hybrid program that includes something using like pesticides and having an organic program into their lawn? What are your thoughts about that?
So, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, to me, adding a little bit of something good can go a long way versus only using what I'm going to call something bad, just for lack of better words, pesticides, insecticides, fungicides. To me, those are more Band-Aids, if you will, rather than getting down to the root cause of the problem and then finding a solution there. But hybrid programs, I mean, to me, you got to start somewhere. So, I mean, if you're looking to incorporate one thing that's different, start with carbon, start throwing compost out, do some compost top dressings, something like that. And then kind of, man, that did a lot. That wasn't that expensive. How did I get a product that had no NPK ratio do something to my lawn that looked like it had an NPK ratio? So I have no problem with organic, hybrid programs. I think that, again, you got to start somewhere. So, I mean, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I know your buddy. He mentions a lot about NPK. He's like, I don't even worry about the NPK. I'm worried more about the soil amendments going into the soil. So definitely, yeah, because I've been thinking going full organic on my lawn, but sometimes I'm like, man, I do need, I want to have some pesticides in there just to have that peace of mind. But I'm making that transition slowly in my own program for my house, for my own lawn. carrying a hybrid program. But definitely, man, I'm looking forward into it for sure, going full organic very, very soon.
Yeah. And I guess, the other question, we see lots of studies sort of out about, adding compost, you have to add sort of so much of it to sort of change, to move the needle on things like the organic matter percentage in your soil.
100,000 pounds to the acre.
Yeah, right. Right. And even things like,
it's probably not overnight either.
Yeah. And even things like a lot of humic, a large amount of humic acid to change things like your CEC level. So, what amounts of products or, what sort of amounts of those types of things, are we needing to kind of put into our soil to kind of see, to see the benefit?
So, I think
good question. Good question, Sean.
Well, and the good thing about that is again, kind of if we go back to that 1-2, if let's just call a program was a 1-2, all you kind of mentioned was one, carbon. Carbon is great, but what holds MicroLife aside from other things, but what really makes it work in the soil or that carbon to do what it needs to do is that soil biology, that mineralization, that breaking that down, that eating whatever that is, and then going through whatever it be, a bacteria, a fungi, a protozoa, an amoeba, to then turn it into something that's available to the plant. So if you're missing that, that's again, when you use herbicides and pesticides, and again, I think you can use them in a specific capacity, but just taking into account that you are inhibiting a bunch of good things in the soil, so when you want to fix something, think of that as your unpaid labor force. So if you damage them a little bit, they're not going to work as hard as if they were coming in full force. But there are some times where an infestation is so bad, you may have to turn to alternative sources. And again, I think if you have a healthy system treating something organically, when damage comes about, whether it be a disease, pest insects or something like that, overwatering, underwatering, with a healthy system, you're easier to come back quicker. Your recovery is a lot better versus you get stuck on that merry-go-round of poor soils, junk fertilizer, fungicide, pesticide, insecticide, and it's a circle. It's really a circle is what you're doing, because you're constantly inhibiting something that's helping you, which is that soil biology.
Nice. Yeah, because I know you guys have a brown patch bag or product in your program, no?
Yeah, so it's a brown patch 513, and the disease so if we have two if we have two inoculant packages, one being Supreme, which is in the vast majority of our products, then we have another inoculant package that's that disease fighting inoculant package that's in brown patch and microgrow. And so the easiest way to think about it is microgrow as that inoculant. That microgrow is put inside of brown patch, which is a 513, to be a disease fighter as well as a full MPK ratioed fertilizer.
Nice. Man, that's pretty awesome stuff. I know there's a field that you guys, I don't know if the turf manager there uses just MicroLife products, baseball field. If correct me if I'm wrong, or is there one or no?
There's one up in the University of, well, it's not the University of North Texas, but it's Texas Women's University. Their grounds maintenance, I mean, they've been fully organic for about, I want to say like going on 6 years now. Their grounds maintenance keeper was told by the school, hey, we're going organic. And he didn't want to do it. But he found us and we kind of helped him along and did what he thought was undoable, we'll say. And I mean, he is our advocate. If we have any sports turf manager who's a little weary, he's like, here you go. Here's my number. Give him a call. I'll tell him what it's like to be weary and then the results that they'll get.
Man,
how long did it take to change him?
So
how long did it take for him to see the difference?
So I can almost guarantee that he saw a difference within about 2 to 3 weeks, but that's an immediate right in front of your face. What's underlying, if you think of like an iceberg, we'll kind of just use that as the analogy. There's a lot of underlying. So, I mean, although it looks good for a moment, when you put something good in the soil, especially humic fulvic acid or humates, it acts as a catalyst. So, I mean, talking about cation exchange capacity, you can free up a lot of things in your soil that you think are not there by just adding that in there. So, I mean, humic substances are known to contain between 3 to 5% nitrogen by themselves. So just because it's not denoted on the bag, you're still getting that in there. pair that with an inoculant package like that we have azobacterium inside of there, which are nitrogen fixing bacteria. So, I mean, if you look above 1 acre of soil, there's about 35,000 tons of atmospheric nitrogen sitting right above that soil. So without those microbes there, you're not utilizing that nitrogen. But when you put them there and you cater to those microbes, they can pull that atmospheric nitrogen out of the air, mineralize it, push it right into the soil.
I do have a question regarding on that, Ryan. Mr. Lawn Radiance, he asks, but does my soil already have microbes in it? What's the benefit of introducing additional beneficial microbes into what's there currently? Going back to what you were saying.
And that makes complete sense. So in hindsight, yes, there are microbes in there, but the more high salt synthetic fertilizers you put on there, if you think of them as a preservation, I use potted meat as an example. I used to eat potted meat as a kid. That's very high in salt because it's preserving. It's inhibiting bacterial growth inside of there so that it can last forever in the way of non-living things there. Well, you don't want that in your fertile soil. You want living things in there to help dig around, move things around, take water and nutrients and put them where they need to go. And so, yes, they should be there. But again, the more high salt synthetic fertilizers you're using, you're losing them. So if you add them, the more you add them and then take care of them, maintain them, you're setting yourself up for success.
Nice.
What about other products? And the first thing that comes to mind is something like Milorganite or Menard's like generic version. Those are like, I guess they're not like technically organic, but they're like natural for whatever that means. They come from municipal treatment, whatever. But I would imagine the cleaning process, it doesn't have much bacteria. Are there other folks out there that have similar type bacterial packages that you guys have, or is this totally novel to the industry, or
I see what you're saying. So I wouldn't say it's novel to the industry. I think it's pretty familiar to the industry. There are people know about microbiology, whether they want to choose to include it in their product is a whole different thing. A lot of people will do it separately. They'll have that wettable powder aside. You can buy mycorrhizal wettable powder and then add it later after you've put a granular fertilizer out. I think that's kind of a testament to what a lot of fertilizers are. High salt synthetics is what I'm going to call them. They're lacking that extra, 1, 2. They're lacking that 2. They're just nutrients, and they're kind of hoping that there's something more in the soil that's going to do what you're giving to it to kind of help along, versus putting those microbes there to do what they need to do.
Now, why do you think that is, Ryan? Do you think that that's like, is that more of a financial consideration? Do you think for a lot of those companies, for them to add this into their products, is that a cost-cutting measure? Or, I mean, what's your take on that?
You mean like the inoculant specific, like them not adding the inoculant in there?
Right. Like why sell two different products? Like why sell a, we're saying salt-based product, a traditional kind of, fertilizer. Why sell that and then, an inoculant package or something with, more beneficial microbes in it separately? Why not just package it all together?
A lot of places won't sell anything with beneficials in it. What if you were to refer to the soil biology as the control? So what are your control products? Your fungicides, your insecticides, your miticides, those again. So kind of going back to those fertilizers that normally usually only contain between 7 and 8 trace minerals. Plant needs 52 to be healthy. So if you're only giving it 7, you're relying upon what else is in the soil. You're not always going to get that. So therefore 7 days later, you're not going to blame your fertilizer for a problem. You're going to go, I need a fungicide. 8 days later, after that fungus is gone, you're going to go, boop, I got a pest infestation. I need to go get a pesticide. And so I don't want to say it's like a money thing. I'm not going to blame corporate or whatever's going on, but I think it's a marketing thing. They want to sell you this fertilizer so that then later you can go buy this, and then you go buy this, and you're constantly going into Home Depot, asking questions and buying something, and you're getting satisfied. But all the while not really knowing how you're inhibiting what really could be helping you, which is that soil biology.
Ouch. Yeah. You heard it, guys.
Yeah. And that soil biology is what, is sort of that nitrification cycle, right? So can you talk about how that kind of works in the lawn and how, the microorganisms are what actually convert, fertilizer and other products into, usable into forms of the elements that are usable by the plants.
Right. So I mean that would be, there's a bunch of different words for it. Mineralization is usually the one that I use because it kind of encompasses all things. Like if you have one mineral you're trying to get, mineralization is the process it goes through when it's been eaten by a soil biology and then, pooped out, and now it's in plant ready form. The plant is ready to take it in and it can utilize it. Whereas before, while it was there in the soil, it didn't have what it needed, the microbiology, to turn it into plant ready form. So I mean, I think the specific azobacterium that I was talking about, which are called nitrogen fixing bacteria, they are in our package. We've got multiple different ones, like 6 strains of azotoformins, and then there's like 5 strains of another azobacterium. But putting those there kind of goes back to that 35,000 tons above 1 acre of soil. That's how much atmospheric nitrogen is in there. So I mean, what it does is that those microbes absorb that nitrogen, mineralize it, and put it into the soil and make it plant readily available. That's nitrification.
Interesting.
And that's available at all times above the ground or whatever.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I didn't know it was so hot here today. I didn't know anything was available but sweat.
just humidity, humidity and boob sweat for all us big guys, right?
It was awful today.
Yeah. So another question too. I mean, if somebody wants to really sort of dive deep on, their soil biome, what kind of testing can they do, or how can they measure sort of what is in their soil profile already, or in how it changes over time?
So, I mean, y'all talk about it a lot, and I applaud this group for doing what y'all do. The soil testing, I mean, I'm telling you guys, I tell people, I can tell you about my product and I know it's going to work because it's based on science. If you give me a soil test, I can guarantee that it's going to work because I can show you from point A to point B. But in your soil test, some main things to look for are your CEC, your cation exchange capacity. The lower that is, the more limited those nutrients are in the soil. Your soil test could say you're deficient in iron, you're deficient in boron, you need to add this. That's not always the case. A soil test that I look at talks about plant ready available of that element and unavailability of that element. They get kind of specific, but looking at your cation exchange capacity, looking at your organic matter percentage, and looking at your pH, all of those are going to tell you. I mean, pH to me is probably one of the biggest one. If you wanted to know what was available at certain pHs, at about 6.7 pH, every element you can think of is available. The more you teeter totter back and forth, you lose a piece of certain elements, and it's more the availability of them, how quickly that the plant can take them up in that specific pH.
Yeah. I mean, that like you said, that the pH, really when I'm approaching, especially my lawn now that I've, tried to learn a little bit about, the more, agronomy and sort of turf science behind everything, fixing the pH is really the first thing that I'm trying to get right. So that way, like you said, all the other levels of nutrients and elements and all those other sort of, attributes of our soil, that changes as your pH changes. So if you're trying to change those things and change your pH at the same time, you're going to get, you're going to overshoot one and undershoot another because your pH is changing the levels at the same time. You're trying to manually change levels of things, so getting your pH right and kind of keeping it right, is one of the biggest factors to getting a good, to doing, really that turf science and, agronomy approach to kind of taking care of your lawn.
Right.
And how does the biome of, the microorganisms in the soil, how does that change? Does that change as pH changes?
So, I mean, it does. If you think of, it's a dog eat dog world, some of those microbes are eating themselves and eating each other once their life cycle is done and things like that. And so what you're really doing is you're increasing your organic matter. And I think it might've been maybe like a couple weeks ago, we were talking about watering or something like that. And Zach had mentioned in the chat, talking about watering and using your soil as like a reservoir. And he threw out a good statistic. I think it was like 28,000 gallons per acre or something like that, which is pretty true. 18 inches deep of soil with 3% organic matter can hold 120,000 gallons an acre. I don't know about you. I don't water my lawn like Olee does, and nor do I want to pay that water bill. But the more water I can hold, man, the more I'm successful, especially in a heat drought or something like that. That's kind of what it comes down to.
I got a phone call about that while I was at the beach. Wanting to
They
know
said,
if
"Hey,
that was
watch it."
going to, they were wanting to know if that was going to be a common thing. And if it was going to be a problem. I said, well, if it becomes a problem, I guess I'll dig a well, but long as it don't rain, long as it rains, that's not going to be an issue. So, but yeah, I got a phone call. That was funny. So it's like, 212,000 gallons is not normal in 32 days. No, it's not.
Shit, I got an email. I got an email now and use like 18,000.
So on the UMax Plus, the UMax Plus has really got my eye. Does it work just as well on top of the soil, working its way in with rain and time, as being introduced in like core plug-in aeration, slick seeding, something of that nature?
It does. I mean, we talk about as close as you could get nutrition to the root zone, the better you have of giving that plant the ability to thrive. So usually, like for instance, when somebody's laying some turf grass, when we have some landscapers or some guys that are laying some turf grass, we recommend them to lay that Humates Plus down first and then apply their turf grass. Because I mean, you're touching roots to nutrition right there. Talking about that mycorrhizal fungi, promoting that root growth, shooting stuff into the ground to make it established a lot quicker and better versus come and be all transplant stressed and things like that. But the other caveat to that is I kind of call it the sandwich effect. I tell people you can put it below and above, so therefore you get it melding through and into the soil. But rest assured, putting it on top of the soil in any capacity, even after you've put your soil, you're laid your grass or you've already got grass down and things like that, and you just want to amend the soil, it'll get down there where it needs to.
It just looks like it would be a killer product at overseeding time.
Yeah.
Back to the water holding capacity. I know a lot of people don't like organic soils because of how much it holds water, and which I understand, because you got to manage it maybe a little different, maybe just a little less maintenance. But so I'm a high organic matter soil in my back lawn, and I started off actually in the spring with organic fertilizer, blood meal, bone meal, feather meal, had a lot of different stuff in it. And I didn't water my lawn all year, just because, one, I hate moving around hoses. I hate dealing with it, hate messing with it. And if it was going to go dormant, I was just going to let it go dormant and let it come back. But I have not watered it, and it's still holding strong. So, I mean, I think a lot of people, like pro applicators, certain, people who want to take their lawn to the next level, want that like sandy soil so they can kind of do whatever they want with it and, not have to worry about the water holding capacity. But I mean, on the other hand, and I talked about this before, I see a lot of people who in the spring and fall, people are maybe just a couple times a year, people's lawns are looking like awesome, badass. And then all of a sudden they just have some like super lows. So like they have some super highs and some super lows. And, but I think I think that organic matter helps you kind of have a nice steady, a steady lawn all year long. So
yeah, I would think having it where you could have usable backyard, let's say, where you're going to be out there with the kids and stuff. I mean, that's a really big selling point for us, especially if you can factor in exactly what you're saying, like minimize your water input, maybe rely more on just rainfall more than anything. But when it does rain, if it's not sopping wet, you want something where the grass can kind of maybe look good or do better, not struggle as much, doesn't need as much babying to it, doesn't need as much sprinklers and stuff. And then you can be out there with the kids and stuff and let them play and not really worry about it being soaking wet or dead and dry.
Yeah. I have a very interesting question from the comments, Ryan. We have the Grass Factor asking, why does research continually show nitrogen has just as much positive impact on soil health as humic substances?
So why does nitrogen have the same positivity as carbon?
Has just as much positive impact on soil health as humic substances?
So, I mean, I think it's all about what's needed in the plant, the capacity of each specific nutrient, they're all needed. I mean, we always talk about the big three, those big macronutrients, but I mean, there's plethora of other iron, molybdenum, manganese, you name it. But I think they're both needed. I think one thing that I would say to that is that when nitrogen, UAN, if you will, or even some sulfur-coated ureas, things like that, when those have been researched with humic substances, you can cut the rate in half by using humic fulvic acid or humates because of the uptake that it could utilize that nitrogen in. So, I mean, I don't know what research people are looking at. I'd love to see it, but I think that all elements are equally important. I just think that some in more capacities do more for other nutrients versus, just one-on-one relationship kind of things, if that makes any sense.
Nice.
Yeah. And, earlier you mentioned too about, the root health and root growth aspect to what, microorganisms can do for a grass plant. Is that something, as we do apply pesticides or, like a pre-emergent herbicide has sort of like a root
inhibitor?
Right. Yeah. It shortens the root. It doesn't, club the root like a new sprout, but your existing grass, it definitely inhibits root growth a little bit. So is that something that we can kind of counteract with, taking that, microorganism approach, the mycorrhiza, or is that something that can help sort of stem that effect?
So it is. I mean, kind of going back, I don't remember who said it, but somebody said, if I already have microbes in the soil, am I inhibiting their growth? And, or if I add more, like, do I need to keep adding more kind of thing? I think basically what you just talked about is the reason for that. Either you need to, let's say you've used a pesticide after you have your on your lawn, know that you're going to need to use double the amount of something. Number one, to fix what you've just done by inhibiting whatever you've inhibited soil biology. But then number two, more to go on top of to actually do what the objective of it is. So if you think of it in a factor of absorbing the toxins and salts and kind of fixing the problem of what the other thing caused before it can go forward and do what it was actually set out to do, that's something you would just need to take into account.
Yeah, interesting that balance of, promoting good and sort of balancing out, the choices we do make to our lawn and applying products and putting things down, right? It all has to sort of, come in balance. Like, a lot of people are out there spraying their yards with glyphosate right now to burn them down to get ready to do a lawn renovation. And, that can wreck, at least temporarily, the soil health and the microbial activity within a soil. So, you can make that choice. You have to know that that's a consequence of that choice and be able to sort of balance it out and help, afterwards sort of grow it back and get the soil health sort of back in balance. But, knowing, all those sort of cause and effect, and then how to tip the scales back in your favor is, almost as important as, knowing what to do in the first place to your lawn too.
That's right. And if you think of everything as connected, I'll say this and then you can jump in, but if you think of everything as connected, I mean, your trees on the right side of your lawn to your boxwoods on the left side to your grass all the way across, everything is connected. And the way it is connected is your soil biology. So, and if you thought of those as messengers, the right side's got brown patch, it's going to let the whole other side know, but the only way that it can really effectively let the other side know is if that soil biology is there. So the less you have, the less effective that message is going to be by getting all the way to where it needs to, versus if you've got this densely populated, overpopulated microbiology in the soil, aphids are about, the other side's going to know and begin to protect itself versus coming right at it kind of thing.
So if you spray something and you're killing the biology, what is an ideal product to follow up with to kick things back in gear and correct what you just disturbed?
So I'll answer that, but first I would say to not use something that's inhibiting. I mean, kind of going back to biological controls, for instance, you know, you and I were talking about armyworms, BT, Bacillus thuringiensis. That is a bacteria. We've got 8 strains of it in our Supreme inoculant package. But what that does is that's a control agent that you can buy specifically, and it's inside of a spreader sticker. It's got an oil that it's with to coat the leaves and get rid of your problem. You know, so I mean, if you use that, that would not inhibit any growth or any of your soil biology in the soil. You'd kind of be adding one specific targeted one to do what it needs to do. But if you did put a fungicide or a pesticide down, to me, the best thing to do. So number one, a liquid's going to work the quickest. And I mean, MicroLife hopefully is coming out with this new product called MicroGrow AF, which would be pretty cool. That kind of goes after specific targeted leaf diseases as well as soil diseases based upon 8 different strains of beneficial bacteria. It's technically 6 strains of bacteria, 2 strains of fungi. But again, utilizing what I'm going to call a beneficial army to go after the harmful pathogenic, you know, soil diseases or even pest insects. So again, what the product specifically to use would be one of our inoculants, whether it be that MicroGrow granular that Brett's got, Humates Plus, using something like that. And again, what you're going to have to do is that doubled rate, and only thinking about that based upon what you've just, you know, we'll call it harm, what harm you've done to the soil and how you can replenish and fix going forward.
Yeah.
All
well,
right, guys.
Like we had talked before about fungicides. And I would love to dump fungicides and be done with them because of money and staying after it. But it's just like, you know, when we were talking, it just being straight up, until I learn a different way, I have to sort of fall on that. You know, I don't want to fall on that. I would love to not spend a couple $100 on fungicides, and I'd love not have to spray fungicides, and I'd love not to have to worry about getting brown patch or leaf spot. Because, you know, normally the yard looks killer until that crap comes on. So it's also just teaching people and showing people another option and giving them them giving it a chance to work, you know.
Right. I mean,
I usually tell for themselves.
Right. Well, and I usually tell people, I mean, it's going to get bad before it gets better. You will see a regression before you see a progression. And again, that point goes back to what Sean and I were talking about. An organic has to absorb and fix all the things that have been inputted on it for however long it is. You know, let's say that's been a 10-year program. Let's say you had True Green come on your lawn, you've been there for 10 years, and now you're going to start doing your thing. Well, you've got to absorb 10 years, that organic product that you're putting down on there that you want to blame and say is not taking or doing its job quick enough. It's got to absorb 10 years worth of problems before it's going to go forward. 10 years of soil biology replenishment, 10 years of nutrient deficiencies, 10 years of a whole lot of stuff. So if you thought about that first, then you go forward, you'll give it a chance, you'll see it. But I can tell you right now, it's going to get bad before it gets better.
All right, guys, let's take a little break. Yeah. We're gonna announce the how about everybody wants the giveaway for Mr. Soil Life. He was kind enough to give us some products. I believe, what was it again, Ryan, that you were trying to donate for the giveaway?
A bag of MicroGrow. So a bag of what Brent has. It's a bag. It's a 25-pound bag. It'll cover 2,500 square feet and a quart of Ocean Harvest.
Look at that.
A quart of.
So if you're interested in that giveaway, let's go ahead and put SSB, which is support soil biology, on the comments if you're interested in the giveaway, and we'll get it going on the so we can get that giveaway going on ASAP because we're running short on time. Okay, what we're gonna ask again, Bill. I'm sorry, brother, I interrupted.
Oh no, that's fine. No, it's good. I'm glad we got to that because this has been a fun conversation, and I think it's really, it's super interesting. So I was going to ask, do you guys work with like turf farms? So you're talking about if you got a residential lawn, they probably sodded it, and then some guy lives there for a decade, and they just have folks come out and, yeah, like you were saying, treat it, True Green or what have you. Yeah. If you have to go and repair 10 years of stuff, what if you're like us and you got the soil you got in your yard, but you want to be really into lawn care, you're throwing down seed, you're not really getting sod. Will we see benefits? I mean, can you expect quick benefits, or are there sod folks out there for, do they have MicroLife when they're growing their sod? Do they use your products when they're producing that soil so that when you get it, you're kind of starting it with a head start almost?
Right. So I mean, some of them do. I could probably think of 2 turf farms off the top of my head that do specifically. But kind of going back to that whole throwing it under the ground if you're laying new sod, or Olee was asking if you put it on top, will it go down? Do you have to put it under? Where's the most? Can you put it down and it do its job at any rate? That's true. So I mean, if you've got an area that needs to be recovered, if you've got an area that's just super dense with the weeds, usually that means you have a bacterially dominated soil. So if you thought of it like as a spectrum, two bacterially dominated on the right, and fungally dominated on the left, you want to be somewhere in the middle. So when you have weeds, they're normally indicators. You're deficient in nitrogen, you're deficient in this. So if you take that into account and you supply nutrition, therefore you have less problems come about because the system knows what to do because it has what it wants, versus when you see a weed, it's your soil producing a plant to give it what it's looking for. Nitrogen. Clover is the biggest one I can think of. When you see clover, that is a nitrogen deficiency. So that's the soil doing its work. And instead of growing grass around it, growing your grass to enclose on that area, it's going to grow something that's going to put the element that it wants in the soil, which happens to be a weed.
And doesn't clover absorb the nitrogen out of the soil too? Isn't that why kind of the soil's deficient, is because it's being held within the clover, and then when the clover dies, it releases that back into the soil, right, through the whole
Correct.
nitrogen fixing property. Correct. Or the nitrogen fixing characteristic of clover.
Right. Well, but that's what I'm saying. So instead of, if you used a fertilizer and it had nitrogen in it, you'd be supplying to the system what it's looking for.
Okay.
If it's a form of it that it's taken it up so quickly and it's used it off and it's gone, it's gonna and it still needs nitrogen. So what the system is going to do is it's going to create it, and so it's going to grow a weed, and that weed's going to die, and then that element that soil is looking for will be replenished in there. So exactly what you said makes sense, but that's why I'm saying weeds are indicators versus, hey, let me just murk this guy and get rid of him, and then I'll have grass come about.
Gotcha. Okay.
Interesting. That's pretty good stuff. How let me see. What was the question? How pet and kid safe is MicroLife products, Ryan?
So there's videos of our boss eating it on YouTube. I've eaten it. If he's eaten it. I mean, when we talk about the quality source of our materials, you're talking natural ingredients. I mean, alfalfa, kudos to Zach over there naming a whole bunch of good ones, blood meal, feather meal, and things like that. Those are familiar to the plant. Those are something that are put inside of our fruits and vegetables that grow with those nutrients and minerals inside of them, that then when we take that bite out of that apple, we're getting that back into us. Same thing with the animals. When they eat a nutrient dense grass, then we eat those animals, boom, replenished.
And a quick note to all of our listeners live in the YouTube chat and listening later in the podcast, we do not recommend or condone anyone eating any sort of fertilizer, any sort of product.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. That's a different YouTube channel, I think, if you want to start eating stuff like that and get on the internet.
Yeah, they're not Tide Pods.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
But not like a good old healthy Tide Pod.
I mean, if you wanna have a good taste of guano or some good stuff like that, then go for it.
Get Yucca a different way. Don't.
It'll be like,
are there soil tests that check this? Okay. Do you guys have are there soil tests out there where you can check for organic, bacteria, fungi to check to see, like, if you do an application, then you can say, okay, 2 weeks later, a month later, 3 months later, can I see it? Does it go away? When do I need to reapply more? Have I actually made lasting changes to my soil after so long?
Right.
I mean, is this something accessible to a homeowner versus, say, maybe a golf course? Like, if we wanted to check it out, how would we know what we're putting down, other than maybe seeing a difference in the grass, which, like you said, could take a while? How do we know what we're doing is having lasting impact? Is there a way?
So there's this thing called a microbiometer. It's pretty new. I think it came out in like 2019. There's this lady, her name is Dr. Elaine Ingham. She's the one who invented the soil food web, or she is kind of toted with the third agricultural revolution. She's a very, very, very smart lady. But she came up with this meter that you take some soil, you move it inside of this little vial, you put a dropper inside of it, you take some of it out, and then you put a little drop on this little circle thing, and it has a color spectrum wheel, and then you put it up to this iPhone app, and it lets you know what your fungal to bacterial ratio is, F to B ratio. So, you know, I think the kit's like $100, and you can do like 10. It comes with 10 test kits inside of it, or 10 little wheel things. That would probably be the best way that I would do it, if you really wanted to nerd out on it. But again, to me, the best way, and it doesn't take that long. Again, the thought for thinking of absorbing problems as what's taking so long before you go, man, this stuff just isn't doing what it's supposed to do. You will see a difference. I mean, the best thing I can tell people is when you put down something that contains a lot of soil biology on your lawn, in about 3 to 5 days, if you walk out on your lawn, you'll feel some bounce. And the reason for that is because you've taken concrete clay soils or tightly compacted soils, and you've given them friability. Those soil biology in the soil have gone around and made little tunnels and things like that, capillary highways, if you will, so that water and nutrients can get down where they need to. But that creates a bounce. That's friability in your soil. You want that. So yeah.
You can get
that's room for oxygen and water and everything. Instead of the rain running across the top of the yard, go down.
Yeah, and is that from the, you said you had like Yucca wetting agent and stuff, and that is that from that, or is that from the actual, the increase in soil microbes, things like that?
So that's specifically what I was talking about, was the increase in the microbiology. Again,
okay.
Thinking if you had like tightly compacted soils and, you want to open them up a little bit so that things can get where they need to. The Yucca will help do that. I mean, paired with everything else that's in the package, but really that biology, think of them as digging into the soil and moving all around and creating a tunnel, Elon Musk's boring company, if you will, I mean, that's what they are. So
do you recommend aeration, or do you not recommend it due to kind of losing some of that OM?
So, I mean, I'm a half person. I guess I think it has its benefits. If you've got very hard soils, like a lot of baseball fields will use these things called shatter machines, because their soils are just so compacted. If it's needed, yeah, but to me, what I'm going to say is then you come in with that concentrated compost, that Humates Plus, to fill all those holes, with complete nutrient density. Whereas when you are doing that, though, you're disrupting that network of that mycorrhizal fungi in the soil. So therefore it has to start over. So the less disruption you do to that soil, obviously hoping that there's already a beneficial network underneath, if you're catering to your soil the way it needs to, and catering to your organic matter and your pH and things like that the way it needs to promote soil biology. But again, sometimes it's needed. Sometimes you've thrown the kitchen sink at it and you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to aerate this guy and compost top dress or fertilize it with something. And I mean, like I said, sometimes it's needed.
Okay, guys. Before we go into the giveaway, I don't know if Mr. Brent can take over the KOTG Lawn of the Week.
Ooh.
Everybody has been waiting for that one.
Well, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I forgot who won because I fell asleep with my kid when I put him to bed. So give me a second here.
Nate's acting like he can't hear with his earpiece.
What's that, everybody?
No, my wife just got home and I've been talking to her for like 2 minutes. So. Sorry, I'm in between 2 different meetings here right now.
Oh man!
All right, so this week's Lawn of the Week winner.
It was a tough one too.
It always is. It always is. It always is. But this week's Lawn of the Week winner is Alex Mitchell 84 on Instagram.
Ooh.
And
look at that.
Thing's looking sharp.
Toit.
Oh, incredible.
Toy, like a toy.
Beautiful.
That's a good patch of grass right there, man.
Well, he's got like a full, like a golf hole in the backyard, I believe.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's not just like a putting green that he mows. It's a full like tee box, fairway, and green.
Yeah. I mean, that's real mode, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's a lot of area
like
to real mow.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
I want to know the yardage on that hole in the backyard.
And for putting in that work, Mr. Alex Mitchell, you win Keep Off the Grass Livecast Lawn of the Week this week.
Yeah, and big thanks as always to Pro Pete for continuing to sponsor the Lawn of the Week. The winner every week gets a little bag of not a little bag, a bag of Pro Pete product or some Pro Pete merch. And again, to enter, make sure you're getting your lawn in good shape, taking a nice little picture and putting it up on Instagram, tagging hashtag KOTG Lawn of the Week. Make sure you're doing that in a post or somewhere where we'll see it, not in something like a story where it kind of goes away. Follow the hashtag, see what everybody else is putting in, see the competition, and again, big thanks to Pro Pete for continuing to work with us on this.
Yeah, you got to check your competition. You got to know who you're up against, over the course of the week, so you know where you stand. So, yeah, Mr. Alex Mitchell, make sure that you shoot us your information, your name and address, and get yourself some greens grade for that backyard putting green.
It looks sick, man. Dang,
it does.
Yeah, that thing's
Hey, Sean, I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
What are you doing mid-October?
What am I doing mid-October?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be packing up a bag to head down to Louisville. What are you going to be doing mid-October?
I'm going to be doing the same along with a few other cast members.
Oh, so, yeah. It's like we've been planning this or something. I love it.
Yeah. I'm hopping on a plane.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go drink some bourbon.
That's going to be a good one.
and also I'm going to go to GIE.
Yeah.
In my spare time.
That is the Green Industry Expo down in Louisville, Kentucky. Believe it's the 20th through the 22nd of October. So we'll be heading down there. Most of the cast will be heading down there. And next week, we're hoping to talk about some of the great things that we're planning to do while we're down there too. So make sure you're tuning in to follow along. We'll be sharing what we got planned for KOTG at GIE.
Hey, can you buy Busch Light in Louisville?
No, just bourbon.
So I'm gonna need to have a carry-on 24-pack.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can't carry that on. They're bigger than 3-ounce containers of liquid. Sorry, man.
I'm gonna check a bag on the way back.
Check it. Yeah.
I'm gonna be making some acquisitions while I'm out there. Hopefully, that's some hard to find bottles of bourbon.
Yeah, we'll go hunting, Brent.
Oh,
how's that SSB giveaway going, Brian?
All right, we got all the people in here, so I'll share the screen.
Yes, let's check it out. We're gonna take home a good stack.
I want everybody to see Super TA 329 is in here. Apparently, he said we forgot him one of the times, so I just want everybody to make sure we can see that on there. All right,
just want everyone to remember that we're amateurs, we're not professionals. So if we miss someone every once in a while, or we misspeak every once in a while, guys, we're just like you. Like, we're not professionals. So if we say something that's not accurate, or we forget someone on a giveaway, a free giveaway, chill out, okay? Get off our asses.
What is this, amateur hour? Yeah, it is amateur hour.
All right, here we go.
We're here to have fun, drink beer, and learn about lawns. We're not pros, so chill out.
Actually, is amateur hour.
Legitimately,
like literally Bush League with Nate here too.
Exactly.
Oh.
That was close.
Nice. Turf tamer.
I believe my boy Ryan said he was going to give another one. Ryan?
Yep. Let's do two of them.
Oh. All right, we'll go back to Sherna then.
Good thing you didn't delete that, Brian.
Yeah, no.
Save you some typing there, Brian.
Remove him off.
Might want to fill him in next time.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Look at that.
Nice.
Congrats,
guys.
Nice. Congrats.
He was a former KOTG guest.
Yeah, guest. Yeah, speaking of guests, right? Don't we We got to get one of those here too this week, right? For next week's show.
It's full of surprises today, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, who's coming on next week?
I was going to say type in the chat amateur hour if you can spell. Well, spelling won't count. I know
Yeah,
that's a tough
spelling
one.
counts.
There's a U and an E in there somewhere. So
Sheila's going to come grade it.
So type in the chat, the live chat, amateur hour, and we'll pull someone into next week's show. They can join us for the show.
All right. All right, guys. Let's go back to talking about organics. Any more questions you guys have for Mr. Ryan?
Where can we find MicroLife?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I was Googling it, looking you guys up. Y'all are down south, man. I'm in Columbia, Missouri, and ain't nothing close. Do you guys have any online retailers where I can have it shipped primed maybe to my house at some point?
So I would probably say Amazon's the best place to get it. It's not us that sells it on Amazon. We have a vendor that sells it on Amazon.
They're trusted. They won't jack up the price like some of these third-party folks do sometimes.
Right. The other thing is that same vendor sells online. I think the turf nerd tried to buy some stuff from him, and he's up in Virginia or Maryland, I think it is. And it's like pretty penny to get it up there, but shipping anything these days is pretty expensive. So
yeah,
they've cornered the market on it for some reason. So Amazon probably the best place to get it, I think. And you can get everything on Amazon. All of our products are there.
What if somebody wants to buy a pallet? They can buy a pallet from you, right?
Yeah, if they want to buy a pallet from me, they can call me. That would be perfect.
There you go.
Y'all want to go in collective? I think John at ProPeak recommended y'all to do that. Y'all go collective. Y'all get a pallet. Boom.
We still need to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Buy a pallet.
I know Olee wants one, dude.
Oh, I want this 004.
I know.
Olee's got to buy the pallet for his stuff. Anything he's buying by the pallet for his palatial estate down there.
I want this 004 right here. Extra love.
Ooh, Amazon Choice 624 professional grade. Nice
stuff.
Oh, cool! I'm excited. I want to try out some of this stuff. I'm curious to see because this new house we're in, hopefully we won't be here for too long. But I'm using this opportunity to renovate my yard and kind of learn as much as I can, and then maybe
you're using this opportunity to learn
just a little bit.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to double check that. There was a little confusion.
But but this lawn here is full of weeds. It never gets watered. I mean, I'm sure it's it could use something like where it could help kind of loosen up the soil a little bit and help help this new grass grow. So I might have to check that out for next month maybe.
And Olee says something about for overseeding. That stuff is dynamic. It has kelp in it. Mm-hmm. Kelp promotes seed germination. That stuff's the bomb.
Does it have molasses in it also? Dang, we ain't touched. Molasses.
All of our products contain what I'll call like 4 plant accelerators. You got humates, humic fulvic acid. We've talked about that. Molasses, fish, and kelp, seaweed. All those. You put those together in any recipe, you're looking for success.
Now, people in Texas can stop and buy this locally, right?
They can, yeah. So, I mean, we've got 75 retailers from Dallas down to Houston. The lawn sauce, if he's in here, he's in Hawaii. I've got a retailer in Hawaii that buys from me. They buy a lot of material from me.
The lawn sauce.
I've got a guy in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, we've established that it's not North Carolina. Darn it! I'm sorry, Olee. But
there's 2 Lexingtons, and it ain't mine.
Carolina Colorscapes.
Yeah, that's them.
Yeah.
Hey, and Ryan too. How about your products in things like flower beds, potted plants, gardens? How does that work?
Like for your ornamentals and stuff.
Yep. So the good thing about all of our products is they can all be used anywhere. I'll say that. I mean, even our hybrid 2005, we've had guys throw it in the lawn, throw it in beds, esplanades, things like that. I will say, I think yesterday somebody posted, there's this guy who won the largest pumpkin. He actually holds the new world record. He held the previous world record at like 1,400 pounds. This new one is 1,662, and he grows it with MicroLife Ultimate 846 and MicroGrow Granular. And I think he uses 2 other products, but one's like a seaweed based product strictly, and then another one's like a humic based product. But I mean, you want to supply nutrition not only to your lawn, that's what we've been talking about here, but the same caveats hold true in your flower beds, your ornamental beds, anywhere where you're trying to grow something. The best way to grow that is with nutrition. And you want to use a nutritionally dense product. That's us. Pair that with that inoculant package. Again, recipe for success.
Yeah. And how much did you say that pumpkin was?
1,662 pounds.
That's a shit ton of lattes.
It's crazy. They grow those things, and they take better care of them than my children. So
yeah,
they got a fan, and they put it underneath some sand so that it's got a cushion. They put a tarp over it. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
That's wild. Yeah, I saw a guy
like
on TikTok that was growing like a Darth Vader pumpkin. He's got like some cool mold.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Puts the mold around it while it grows. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Darth Vader pumpkin.
There's your lawn sauce.
Yeah, he's in here.
Oh, you found him?
Here.
Yeah.
Yee.
Oh, he's Nope.
Are we ready to draw for the guest spot? What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
Ew.
I don't know, Mr.
Yeah.
Brian.
Not as many people this time. I think you guys threw him off with having to spell amateur. They all had to get out and Google search it, try to copy and paste.
My
and
computer's
they lost
autocorrect
them.
wouldn't correct it, so I'm sure other people had difficult times.
So yeah, keep it a little simpler next time. We did get 8 entries though, so not bad. That's pretty decent. I like seeing Papa Moslow and Opie wanting to come back on. So just so you guys know, any previous guests won before, you're welcome.
I want LTZ to win. I'm gonna be honest. I said it before, and like if he wins, then we're gonna share the mic. He's gonna come over.
It is cool to see the new and old names kind of mixed in there to see that grow. It's awesome.
Evo 11 before. So all right, here we go.
Oh
boy! There you go.
Oh man!
Sounds like you're gonna have a friend, Brent. Finally,
yeah, we're gonna set that up. We're gonna try to set that up. I'm gonna see if we can. I want to see if we can do it live because he's like whatever 5 or 10 minutes from me. He's next town over.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe we should have 2 guests.
I mean, we're acting foolish tonight. Why not?
Hey, we could hardly do one sometimes.
Always better with 2.
Well, you got to pay extra for that usually.
Okay.
Where can we find you, Mr. Ryan? On your social media? Where can we find you?
I'm at Mr. Soil Life. That's me. You can go to MrSoilLife.com. That's me. I post a bunch of stuff, a lot of tidbits for MicroLife's website, things like that. You can find me on MicroLifeFertilizer.com. There's an on our about page, plethora of information up there, what to do now, problem solvings, weed tips, things like that. Anything you want to learn about lawn care. We've got downloads and things like that, fertilization schedules, the whole 9. I mean, it's a pretty cool website. Or you can go to my website or find me on social media at Mr. Soil Life.
Yeah, you heard it, guys. We had some very good info from Mr. Ryan. I definitely learned a lot. So I'm glad you were able to come down here and help us out a little, and helping us with the giveaways and stuff like that. So thank you,
Thanks
sir,
for having me. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. I'm telling you, y'all. I've been following y'all since the beginning of May, and I mean, I'm no expert by any means, but I'm obviously a professional, and I mean, y'all, the way y'all talk and what y'all do and promote and educate, I mean, people really need this. I mean, we look at this community. I mean, there's 58 guys watching right now. I mean, that's guys and girls, all of us, whatnot. And I mean, I think what y'all have done is good. So keep doing what y'all are doing, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate
that. Absolutely.
Yeah, like Nate said, we're not pros. We're just dads talking about what we're doing. So
trying to get away from our kids, keep them off the lawn.
Nice. Well, yeah. Thanks again for being on, man. This was great. And the support of people like you and other companies and, all throughout the community, that's such a huge help for people like us to know that what we're doing is of interest to other people out there. So thank you for that.
Well, and I want to say one more thing. So Mountain View Seeds, when y'all had them on, so we're a distribution house of all sorts of landscape materials, horticulture, construction materials, and we couldn't find seed this year. And it's so funny because y'all had Mountain View Seeds on there, and I've got a couple customers that know them because they grow grass from them. But I hit up Adam on Instagram and was like, "Hey man, I saw you on the KOTG.
Get out of here.
Get some seed." I'm telling you guys, like, the impact that y'all are making, it may be small that you don't know about, but it's big. It's big. I'm telling you. And I mean, because I contacted him because I saw that he was on y'all's show. Otherwise, I'd have no way to know who that guy was. Mountain View Seeds, not at all. So, and I mean, we chatted. He told me, hit me up next season, kind of thing. But it's because of y'all, all because of y'all. So I'm keep doing what y'all are doing, man.
That's badass.
Cool. I'm in Houston. They're in Oregon. I'm pretty sure they're in Oregon. So I mean, y'all are all over the place too. That's a pretty stout connection going all over the place like that. So
that's really cool to hear, man. Like every time that there's some little connection that's made or people have connected, that blows my mind, and I think that's really cool. I mean, the thing that we set out to start is kind of like taking on this with connections like that. I mean, within the industry, we're outside of the industry, and we're helping people in the industry make connections. That boggles my mind, and I think that's neat. That's really rad. It's cool to hear.
We also wouldn't be shit about the live chat. I mean, the live chat keeps us going. I mean, there's like a whole community of people in the live chat. That's our channel. I mean, so I appreciate everybody in there.
If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, guys. Press that thumbs up. Help us out a little.
Subscribe and hit that bell.
Definitely. And don't forget the cake. Oh, where's he at? Who? Drunk along guy or what?
Yeah. I didn't see
he was in there once.
He was in there.
Yeah, he was there. He was pretty pissed.
Presidente's in there, yeah.
He's pissed we started without him.
Yeah.
Hey, not 10-9 Central. He knows.
So yeah, guys. Any more questions for Mr. Ryan before we head out?
No, sir. I hate we didn't get to touch the molasses though, because it was kicking butt here till I got the army worms.
Sounds like we got an episode 2, Olee.
I mean, I'm going to have to go back and listen to this at least 2 more times to really fully comprehend everything that was said. I mean, that's like, this is
half this shit's way over my head.
Way over my head.
It's just under the turf, though. It's just under the turf.
I had to Google half the words that were being said earlier.
Yeah. Amateur.
What, amateur?
Yeah.
I can't spell neither. So
grass. I'm gonna eat grass. Okay.
I gotta go explain to the wife why I'm gonna go start buying fungus and bacteria now for the lawn. So,
I thought you were trying to keep that out of the lawn.
Right. The good kind, right?
Yeah.
The bad kind and the good kind. Yeah.
It's like Activia for your grass, babe. It's not a big deal.
There you go.
Yeah. I put it in the chat. I was like, a little bit of yogurt goes a long way.
There's live cultures in yogurt. So, I mean, those are probiotics. I'm telling you.
Go.
Oh, now we're going to have people spraying yogurt on their lawn. Don't do that either. Don't eat the products and the fertilizer and the Roundup. Don't eat the Tide Pods and don't spray yogurt on your lawn.
Don't drink glyphosate either.
Right. And don't come after us if you do any of that because you're dumb and deserve it.
You're a moron.
Right?
I'm going to do a yogurt test plot. Whenever my kids don't finish their yogurts, I'm going to go put it in the spot. The yogurt spot.
Wasn't it you that threw banana peels in your yard?
It was Olee.
Yep.
It was Olee.
I take them and put them in the blender and dump them in the garden.
Yeah, potassium, right?
Yeah, we get veggie straws sprinkled all throughout the grass. Those don't break down very quickly, though.
Yeah, and my daughter's car seat has enough Cheerio crumbs to sprinkle out all halfway across the lawn too.
Just blow it off the driveway into the lawn.
Right.
We need them sugars.
Yeah.
Nice.
That did, man. That turned it around. and things were looking phenomenal. And then I got a case of them army worms, and things went downhill fast.
Dang
You know,
it.
I thought that was so cool, that video that you did when you dumped the Dawn on there and the
That was
all
amazing.
those little suckers came right up. I was impressed.
That was amazing. I had to delete the first video because it was a little too aggressive with excitement, but I never could
couple
see
expletives thrown in here and there.
I never could see anything.
When you put the picture of the blade that was all chewed up, I was like, he's got army worms.
But I never could see him. Never.
Damn, bro.
I knew it.
I knew it.
Things are big too.
Well, they what's crazy is once you actually do that soap test, you will see the small to the big ones. They start out really tiny, I guess, as they're hatched, but they'd already been here for about 5 days, and in 3 days they done ultimate damage. I mean, I knew I had a problem.
That's nuts. So do you use just lukewarm?
Where are they from?
Water?
The army worms, they're laid from a moth.
Moths.
So I've never dealt with them, never knew about them, never done any research, never tried to prevent them, nothing. You know, I was because of the drought stress and the other problems, the leaf spot, the other problems, and I finally got my molasses down, and the molasses made a amazing difference within hours. I guess the iron that's in the molasses, dude, it turned on. And then we finally started getting rain, and we were going to the beach for a week, but we finally started getting rain, come home and had 2 spots that were dead, about 6-foot circles. And that's where I seen the leaf blades eat up. Still, the yard looked good, but man, as soon as they got the full on munching, I guess they got size to them, man, they're something else.
So, like, did you kill them off, or are you still working on it, or what's the update there?
I did spray them. I finally once, a buddy of mine here locally that runs a lawn care deal, John, he told me to squirt a little Dawn dish detergent in a gallon of water, go dump it on the ground, stand there, because I kept looking, and man, I
do the same, but I put the Dawn in the soil, and then I put water. It's the same thing. I don't use the gallon of water.
Yeah. But man, they jumped slam out of the ground. So
you see grubs jumping up real quick, mole crickets.
Mole crickets, yep.
Yeah,
that's for any pest insect. It irritates their skin and they come up to the surface. They're trying to get rid of it.
Yes, sir.
I seen spiders in these army worms. So
yeah, last year when I had that slip and slide in my backyard on my hill, that's what we were using. I had a sprinkler at the top, and we had Dawn dish soap, and that's what we're using, to get speed and slickness and all that. And then, like, when we were all done, there's tons of water. I had a couple like those mole crickets in the yard. And I'm like, what the hell is this thing? And then when I was researching about the soap and the water, and I was like, that's why they came to the surface.
How creepy would that be? It's like you got your slip and slide, and then all these bugs start coming out.
Luckily, it was just one. Luckily,
yeah, just a couple. Yeah.
Shit, if I did that right now, I'd have Grubs City.
Yeah, all because you like it fast and slick.
Yep. Keep it wet.
It's that 1-2 punch, right?
Yep.
All right.
Are we done?
Yeah.
This is like the after.
The director's extended cut. Yeah.
We did this last week too, where we were like, all right, thanks for tuning in. Great show.
Yeah, I tried wrapping it up like 5 times, and you guys kept talking.
On my lawn. Let's talk about this now.
Just gotta cue the music, man.
Right.
Take us out, brother.
I had fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.